Adversity? Bring it. The struggle? We welcome it. Snooze on life? Never that. We are Dave Regina and Mike Pirelli, and this is the No Snooze Podcast. Come on. Episode 85, we are back, No Snooze Podcast. I am here with the greatest trio in the game, Michael the Show Pirelli, Claudio the Voice Valenzuela. I am Dave the Body Regina. I don't know where Justin Satchel Sanchez went. I think he got famous and left on us.
It's very possible.
What do you think about that?
If anyone out of a group is going to get famous, it's that kid.
Listen, if you're listening on drop day, happy Monday to you. New week, new energy. Let's finish this year strong. I know it's been a tough December. You want to try to get into some pod bod? I mean, your quads, I'm looking at them right now. They are absolutely flawless.
I didn't feel great last week, and I was fighting some allergies. Livy didn't sleep a lick. But the positive was my appetite was suppressed. And I feel like I had my best week of eating.
Very nice.
Because I just didn't eat for the week.
Okay.
So I'm momentuming into this week, which I've been perfect.
Beautiful.
Oh, wait, not perfect. I had a little apple pie last night.
Little donut.
But I looked at my calories, and I was like way underperforming on the total calories.
Okay.
But I got some steak on sale.
Ooh.
Air fryer steak.
Talk to me about the sale, though.
Way to live.
This excites me.
So I'm trying to figure out what's the best bang for my buck on steak, but I can't go too far into like flank steak because it's just not enjoyable. So I stick to like the top sirloin Stop and Shop. Top sirloin, which is like 50 grams of protein for like $7.
Yes.
Or I got a big skirt steak, which is a total of 80 grams of protein.
That's a lot.
For like $8. So that was a nice buy.
That's beautiful.
But that was like one of those yellow tag sales.
Do you guys catch and Stop and Shop? Because ShopRite, for me, what they do is they do the porterhouse and the
for what they do. You hear what he said? What they do for me.
Well, no, I go right to them.
Yeah, I'm sure because you probably eat half of their
no,
their
I'm serious.
meat.
Like the butcher, they do it for you. If they don't have any porterhouse out, I'm like, hey, do you have any porterhouse in the back? And then when you catch those sales, $7.99 a pound. Now you're getting porterhouse steaks.
$7.99 a pound though.
Yeah, but I mean,
how much protein's in a porterhouse?
Oof, it depends. I mean, it could be anywhere from 80 to 150. grams of protein.
Christ, no wonder. I used to look at it and I'm like, what's in the steak?
I'm telling you,
and then you look at the calories.
But when you catch the sales like that, it's great. Listen, I know you're in your glow up. You look phenomenal right now in terms of a fashion sense. But I have a question for you. What type of boots do I have on right now, Michael?
Those are Chelsea.
Oh,
I'm on fire.
Wow, you really are on fire.
What was last week? The drivers?
Yes, I thought I was going to catch you with that.
So full disclosure, I'm wearing an entire outfit picked out by Dana.
Beautiful.
Other than the jacket, which was picked out by my mother about 4 years ago.
Okay. So I like it, though, and I love those boots. Those are fly.
Yes. So Podbod, I have to say, I'm at a point where I'm crushing my workouts.
Okay.
My squat form is getting phenomenal. My bench press is flawless. I got the callus off my foot, which has been there for like 6 months.
How'd you get?
I went to Dr. Scholl's at Stop and Shop.
Yep.
There's this thing that you apply, this little, it's like a sticker, goes right on the, so it was the perfect size, right on my callus. Then you put like a medicated thing above it. It's supposed to be on for 48 hours. I did every day because when I showered.
Yep.
And it literally gets to a point where you just pull it all off.
Wow.
So now it's raw under there. Now it's just gone. So that's been like health-wise, that was really killing my feet.
Yep.
And I broke in those new shoes. So I'm really
feeling better.
They're definitely too small because I can't lace them up.
Did you get a 12 or a 13?
It says they run big, so I dropped 12. One down to 11.
Oh, wait, are you a 12?
I float between 12 and 13,
gotcha.
Depending on size.
An 11?
Because 12s I had were a little loose, but that's because the shape, if it's a pointy shoe, it's so loose because it's just long. You know what I'm saying? Yep. You ever have those shoes that are super pointy?
Yeah, but I can't fit in an 11 ever.
And I bought them online because they were 50% off, so I was like, this can be tough. So they fit and they're comfortable now. They just don't, like, I can't tie them tight.
Got you. You kind of sound like the NBA players and like my dad. My dad swears he's like 5'10", and I think he's 5'9". So I think you're really a size 12, and then you must be.
I don't know what I am. Because
these look kind of big, right?
But don't you? You have shoe sizes all over the place, right?
12 and a half, 13.
See, so it's
I can do that.
You range, but then it said these run big.
Yeah,
get a size below. So, and usually I don't listen to that, but this time I listened, and now I'm mad because I'm like, I'd much rather have a bigger shoe where I can wear 2 pairs of socks to get a little more cushion on the foot.
Gotcha.
But anyway, that's aside.
We used to make fun of Jose Glenn Rodriguez. He used to have like a size 14. Oh, no, probably a 15. And then sometimes he'd have to rock a 14 or a 13 and his toes would like curl up. Yeah. But
why did he have
coming
to rock?
out dunking
just like
because they didn't have shoes. If they didn't have shoes and he got stuck with that, or if we ordered team shoes and those were on back order because they were massive. It was hilarious.
I feel like if you go to Marshall's, that's all that's there is for clearance.
Yes.
Like a 14, 15 size shoe crushes it at Marshall's.
Yes.
I've always wished that.
When I was playing softball before I got hurt, before I had this toe injury, and I went into
You look like a softball player.
I just look soft.
No, you look like a softball player. Like when I envision a softball player, I envision
professional softball player.
Like
you look like a softball,
thick, right? Doesn't he look like a softball player? Like if they do a documentary on a softball player, you're the guy that's like the
backwards
second
hat
interview,
or forwards hat?
Backwards hat.
Big
second
beard.
interview, and you're like, I back clean up.
Yeah,
you know?
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Sorry,
but anyway, with Marshall, so I walk in and there was like this beautiful gleaming pair of patent leather Jordan cleats, size 13 for like $50.
Did you?
It was the only pair. Yeah, of course, absolutely.
I would get those just to like wear. I'd probably wear them on the golf course.
Yep. So for me, Podbod, we will give away one box of Prolon. Hopefully you can pay for it for the listeners.
I'm good. I got bills, dude. We're going to talk about that next.
No, we'll give away a nice box of Prolon. Shout out to Prolon for doing that for the listeners. So I'm excited because I got to come in under 10, and
so
I got to figure,
the goal.
Is it fair? I don't have to wait till the 31st, right? As long as I get down to 10 prior to the end of the year, I'm good.
Absolutely. If you can do it twice and once in December, I think it counts. And
wait, what do you mean once? It is December.
That's what I'm saying. If you can get in one in December, then that means you basically sustained it.
All right.
Because it's holidays and stuff. You know, come on.
Yep.
GNC of Greenwich has the machine back.
Are you ever going back?
I'm going back Friday because my callus is off. I was kind of self-conscious about that.
That was probably adding
because you have to take your socks off.
That was adding some body fat.
Yeah,
too.
That's definitely body fat
for sure.
And it got sent back to get fixed. So who the hell knows what my measurements were?
It was off the whole time.
I could have been gaining fat, and it was saying that I was losing it.
What is the honest?
What
if
I
we
think
had money
right
on
now,
the line, what would you say that you are?
If I hit the percentage to win money, I bet you I'm
within
at like
within 2.
Within 2%. I think I'm at like 16.
16. Okay.
Like I
was going to say 15. So we're
terrible. But I know the biggest frustration for me right now is I have no consistency of a sleep schedule from Livy.
Yes.
And as much as Dana has picked up the slack, it just sucks because even if she gets up in the middle of the night and Dana covers, which is majority of the time, I'm still up.
Yes.
And then when you try to wake up at 4 o'clock, 4:45, whatever it is, 4:30, it's like you're shot, and then it takes an hour just to warm up, and then your workout's not as good.
Yep.
So I am kind of kicking myself because I'm like, maybe I should have just gotten a gym membership because when you're out of the house,
you can get out.
It's controlled. When you're in the house, there's no control.
But you can still get a gym membership.
But I'm being super negative because it's been like 10 days straight of just chaos. So what I have to do is just manage the diet because that's something that doesn't matter how much sleep you get.
Yep.
You just got to stick to it.
Right.
So
that was me literally a couple weeks ago. I mean,
isn't it so?
Same cycle.
You enjoy working out even more than I do. Don't you feel like you go insane a little bit when you don't get to work out in the morning and it's like you just want one thing that you can control?
Yep.
And when you don't get to it, then I'm like crabby the rest of the day.
Yes.
It doesn't come across, but internally I feel a little more like
you don't
rain
feel
cloud.
100%.
Yes. I feel like there's a rain cloud of me just being like, I failed.
Yes.
My first thing I was supposed to do. Like today, didn't get up till 7:30 because I was up with Livy till 1 to cover with Dana because Dana was absolutely exhausted. So I sat, watched Cocomelon, but then it turns around and my alarm goes off at 5 and I'm like, I can't even function.
Yep.
Then I get up at 7:30 and I'm like, I have no time. I got to just go to work. So frustrating.
I know. I hear you.
Don't you want to punch something?
Yeah, I do. But this is exactly where I was literally probably 2 weeks ago. And you just got to muscle through.
But they're not major problems. So it's like,
exactly.
as much as you want to complain, which I've been doing,
that's all right.
It doesn't really matter.
I know.
But it kind of does.
If you're on YouTube, CV has a beautiful tree in the studio.
Unbelievable.
Almost bigger than Mike's original tree that's in his gym now, I guess.
Yeah.
But this one is definitely a little bit more full. I love the No Snooze logos on there. Merry Snooze Miss.
Merry Snooze.
Right?
I actually blew my outlet or whatever it's called. Blew a fuse in the basement when I plugged that tree in, and the fridge turned off. And I was like, God, this friggin' tree.
That's tough.
But I keep it around.
Speaking of trees, holiday, going off that theme here. How big is too big for a onesie. Am I too big for a onesie?
I saw the post. Is that what I'm wearing?
Yes.
Who bought these?
That's what I wanted to
What
know.
size was yours?
Extra large. And it's silky. We got to do something. Got to wear sweatpants.
I got stuff
underneath.
No, I'm gonna stuff.
I'm gonna stuff. I'm gonna stuff.
I got stuff. I gotta.
I'm gonna stuff. But that's gonna be pretty funny. But yeah, I tried mine on.
It looks good. It looks comfy.
It's very silky, so it feels good. But
who came up with this theme? Like,
that's what I wanted
can't we
to
just
know.
do?
Who's responsible?
I'm not an ugly sweater guy.
I wanted to know who is responsible. Seriously,
we have an ugly sweater party this weekend, I think. But anyway, I'll wait to announce this. Not announce, but.
So holiday theme, even at work, right? We had our holiday party. It was great. Awesome
you had it already?
Yeah, we did. We did it early because the union has a party, and then everybody takes off.
Don't you feel like there's so many parties?
Well, that's the thing. We did ours early on, got it over and done with. Great time. But now we, as a department in the town of Greenburgh, we are very inclusive and diverse, right? So we're going through the holiday season right now. We just actually celebrated. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know why, because the actual date of the Chinese New Year is February 1st. But I believe that the Chinese American community in Greenburgh, we celebrated early, so it's around the holiday time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? So yesterday, I guess last week, if you're listening on Monday, we had an event for the Chinese New Year. It's actually the year of the tiger in 2022.
Hell yeah.
And there's the tradition goes that those born in the year of the animal embody the traits of that actual animal. So
Tiger.
This year it is competitive, brave, and unpredictable.
Ooh.
Right?
Maybe I'll be reborn in 2022.
But it's very interesting to learn about like the different cultures. Obviously, you're aware of it as you grow up.
How much do you believe in like the signs
traditions
and all that crap?
So that part I don't really believe in. I mean, to be honest with you, just because you're born in the year of the whatever, that's not my personal belief.
But even like months, do you believe in all that stuff?
Oh, like Scorpio?
Yeah.
Well, so if you look at Scorpio for me, you'll be like, that's him.
How does that work? How did someone be like,
right?
And how's a general like that?
I don't know.
Do you believe in that stuff, Claudio? You do. See, I don't believe in it.
See, yeah.
But I think I'm probably Cancer. I think is right on par for what my personality. I think I don't remember what it is.
And I think my daughter is a Cancer.
June, yeah. So right? June,
but
yeah.
Is Livy the cutoff?
No, Livy's like in the Livy. I think is also Cancer, which would make sense. She's a nutcase.
We're screwed.
I know.
So we got all three. Great.
So as much as I don't believe in it, sometimes I'm like, wow, like it's very possible.
Yep. Today I'm rocking the red with the black.
You look wealthy.
I love that. That's a great
here's my theory on wealth, okay? And I don't want to offend anyone's style. And I'm getting into the style game. Vests, one of the wealthiest things I've ever seen people wear.
Yes.
Like those, not the puffy.
Are you going Oxford underneath and Oxford button down?
Yes.
Oxford button down with the vest on top. Maybe a little Vineyard Vine logo.
And there's nothing wrong with it. Steve Pirro looks like one of the wealthiest people I ever met. He's got an unbelievable. He wears Brookes Brothers. I'm like, my dad wears Brookes Brothers, and he's crazy. So like, you are another caliber. So that's like super wealthy. Anytime you wear a sport coat that doesn't match your pants, like and your slacks are either khaki colored, and you got the gold buttons, and for extra points, you wear a polo under it, which is like. It's not a no-no. Yeah. You just need swag to pull it off. It's like wearing a turtleneck.
How about the custom polos?
Amazing.
With the name
amazing. But sometimes I walk in and I look at people, like my brother's pulled it off a bunch of times. I'm like, you look wealthy.
You look wealthy.
Haircuts sometimes come off wealthy, like a nice, not a comb over, but you know the swoop? You know the swoop that comes like this?
Yes.
My Uncle Jimmy, unbelievable swoop. I call him Daddy Warbucks every time we hang out, and he gets really mad.
That's hilarious.
And he makes fun of me. He's like, Daddy Warbucks, you have 2 houses in Greenwich. He's like, he gets so mad though. We went to his country club. This is bad to say. And he was parading us around. He was being nice, right? He was introducing us to everyone.
Yep.
And I'm like, Uncle Jim, was this the first time any of these people have seen Italians?
That's good.
He got so mad. He's like, I'm like, F you. He's like, take pictures because you're never coming back.
That's hilarious. I figured you could help me out a little bit. So today I got to speak about Kwanzaa, the celebration of Kwanzaa, right?
Yeah.
So I figured you would be the perfect one to speak to.
I got no idea. I barely know enough about Christmas.
No, but anyway, my point is, in the town, especially the position I'm in now, you're involved in all these different cultures and communities, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So Kwanzaa is basically the celebration of family, culture, and community. blend it all together in the African-American heritage. So we have that. Then we also have some Hanukkah celebrations, the Festival of Lights, which I believe. So fun fact, did you know my mom and my family is actually Jewish, right? My father is Catholic. So we had a nice blend of both. I'm more Catholic viewed now. My daughter will be raised
Catholic viewed.
My daughter will be raised Catholic as well.
Have you seen Goodfellas? Please tell me you've seen Goodfellas. Of course. Yes. And he goes, she goes, Henry, I hear you're Jewish or half Jewish.
Yes,
and he
half
goes,
Jewish.
Only the good half.
Exactly. So I was always the Italian Jew.
Yeah.
Right. But it's a great blend. And then obviously you got your Christmas holiday, the celebration and the birth of Jesus Christ.
I gotta be honest, I just love eating other people's like Christmas traditions. I remember thinking like Chinese food on Christmas Eve sounds incredible. As you get older, you realize like you are spoiled with the Italian.
A lot of Jewish
Christmas.
people do that.
Yes. So I remember thinking like I want latkes, right?
Yeah,
Fried potato. Like I remember envying all the other food items on Christmas for other people.
And I feel like I have even more a deeper appreciation now for the history of one's culture. It's pretty. It's very cool.
I enjoy
to see. You know, it's very cool to see, and it's really awesome to just get involved and you learn a little bit. At that Chinese New Year celebration, they were literally translating just for me and one other guest of honor.
Sick.
Because we obviously couldn't understand the Chinese part, but when they would break it down in English, just a beautiful, beautiful time, man.
Amazing.
So the holiday season is upon us. So whatever your culture and heritage is, happy holidays to you.
So we did our fundraiser event. Yeah. So we grinded to get to it. We did a bar takeover for Tell Mike Sent You. It was me, my lovely wife Dana, local Cleats, which is a girl named Carrie, Greenwich Foodie, and then my video guy Chris.
Your crew is one of a kind crew.
Squad, dude.
Squad deep.
So all of them, other than Chris, my guy, turn on me, and Dana turns the girls against me, and they just make fun of me the whole time. Mike, you're terrible at taking photos. You don't even bartend. What's your brand even mean? Tell them Dana sent you. They just all rip on me, which is fine. Long story short, we get there a little early. Bistro V was very gracious of having us. It was all to raise funds for Greenwich Boys and Girls Club.
Beautiful.
Which is a great thing. I grew up there. We would do the pancake breakfast with Livy there. It was awesome. But anyway, turns out like the bartenders I don't think knew we were coming. So there's 5 of us. They dressed me up as Kris Kringle, so I'm Santa.
I thought you were Santa Claus.
Santa, Kris Kringle, same person.
Who's Kris Kringle?
That's a nickname.
For who?
Like the show, it's a nickname for Kris Kringle. For Santa.
Kris Kringle?
You've never heard Kris Kringle?
No.
All right, anyway. So I'm Santa, but it's like a bootleg outfit, as you can tell. It's made out of, not suede. What's that material that teachers use? It's like the cheap.
Wool?
No, not even wool. It was like... it's like used in kindergarten. Like
fabric?
Ripped my pants as soon as I put the pants on. Yeah, it was like the cheapest fabric of all time. My mustache was like crooked because it didn't fit right. I had glasses on. I had a hat. The hat was like terrible hat. Anyway, I did it for the event.
Yes,
it was a lot of fun. I made one drink the whole night, and it was for myself. Then I got kicked out from behind the bar, so I just went around with shaking people's hands and making sure people had a good time.
You were Kris Kringling.
On top of that, so we had so many people come out from all over the place. Like Dana's cousins came from all the way, like an hour away. Clients that I didn't think, very inconvenienced came out. Family, friends. It was a blast. So going into it, I didn't know how much they were charging for the drinks, right? Mm-hmm. So our special drink was a Yuletide Carol named by the girls and Chris. I got outvoted. I wanted a reindeer mule was my idea versus a Yuletide Carol.
I kind of like.
Listen, they were like, "You're dumb," whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. What do I know? So every drink, our special drink, which was a cranberry Moscow Mule. Every time someone ordered it, the full proceeds would go to the Boys and Girls Club, right? So I didn't know how much they were charging. They said happy hour. How much do you think a drink at happy hour would be?
Maybe $8.
We were whacking people for $15 a drink.
Wow.
Poor Joe Salvo almost had a heart attack.
$15 a drink. Yeah, it's pretty pricey.
Brandon came from Warm Heart Life.
Brandon Godoris, yes.
And I figured out when I was with him, I'm like, hey, Brian, thanks for coming. Like, what'd they whack you for? He's like, $15 a drink.
Wow.
I'm like, wow, well, at least $10 is probably going to Boys and Girls Club.
Right. So it's a good cause. It's a good cause.
Good cause, huge success. We raised just cash on the night of $623.
Wow.
People were just had like a box, like we're in church, bringing it around. Then a couple $100 on Instagram, and then I don't know, we'll probably be around 1,000, which was
beautiful.
Good. But it was great time. Thank you for coming out, whoever came. I still got to send some thank you texts and everything. And I was very tamed. We're going to talk about boundaries today and staying like, because I had work the next day and you just can't.
Good thing I wasn't there.
Yes. Thank God.
Good thing I wasn't there. Because I was actually debating it, and then I forget, something happened to where it was 4 o'clock, and I'm like, I can shoot there. But then I saw the traffic going the other way, and I was like, I can't do it.
Tough time. Holidays, a tough time of year. There was some stuff stacked against us, but everyone came together. It was great. Met all the families of all the team members.
Beautiful.
The Boys and Girls Club came for the finale. So Dom Palmer, DP, Christina, Cameron. Yeah, Cameron is
his
the best.
Tagline is the best.
Good. He always talks to me about starting another show with him, and I'm like, we could do it to raise some money, So he's the best. But it was fun. Good. Holidays are fun. I'm almost all holidayed out before we even get to the holidays.
That's what. But that's what it's all about, So if you can get involved in your local community, if you can pitch in and do some meals or anything that you can do to just be of service, it's a really good feeling.
Yes, definitely.
So you and your team, shout out to you guys for a great event.
Absolutely.
Speaking of holidays, still, what is on your holiday wish list? I'm just curious. Like, give me an item.
Honestly, I'm just trying to stay healthy. I'm at the point where I'm survived. I want the Oculus, which is it's the Quest 2. It's the thing you wear for the metaverse and like going virtual reality. You haven't heard of this thing?
Oh, you told me about it.
You put the mask on. You could like box and
correct. Okay.
So I'm in a weird spot. I work at a firm. They're the best, but they just are all old school.
Yep.
Let's put it that way. So when we're at the office talking about the metaverse and everything, it's very negative. And I'm like, guys, it could be to a point where you're home and someone wants to see a property and you just throw on your goggles. I'll meet you in the metaverse. I'll show you the property. Like, it could be awesome.
That's pretty cool.
But people are so negative that
they hate change.
But I don't back down arguing stuff like that when I think something's going to be important.
No, you tend to back down.
No, especially and
ask Dana.
And it's great because like they'll talk about like other Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and say this fake money, this and that, and they all are very wealthy. So it's like tough to argue with them, but I do it anyway.
Right.
And I try to I ask them questions and lead them into points, but it's interesting. So I would say the biggest thing on my list, which I probably won't get. Just because we agreed to like no gifts for each other this year because we're doing a renovation, would be that Oculus Quest 2. It looks sick.
And how much is that?
It's like $300, $200.
Okay.
I mean, it's definitely viable. It's just like, I don't know. I'm at a point where we need to tighten the waist belt as far as spending. We got a little loosey goosey because we didn't have a reno going at all, and we had some good sales and a lot of action, a lot of stress. So sometimes you swing the pendulum to like, all right, if we're taking on all the stress, let's go out to dinner a little more often. And we had gift cards and all that. But now it's like, all right, we have a lot of big bills coming up.
Buckle down.
We got to get through this reno and come out the other side.
Awesome.
So what's on your list? More weights too would be a nice one.
More weights, more donuts.
More donuts.
So what did I ask for? Well, it's kind of silly too. Like we do like this not a grab bag because we do that too, but we do like this gift exchange, obviously like my brother and my sister, but it's literally like, hey, what do you want for Christmas?
Yeah.
Then you send the link and you know what you're getting. Right? Like it's kind of stupid. It's like, why don't you just buy your own thing? I'll buy mine. But anyway, the top of my list, and I've been needing this, is some new Nike compression shorts, man. I've gotten to the point that I still have them from college. They're a little stinky.
Not a bad thing,
no, but they're a little stinky now. You know the material, once it starts to get really wet.
Dry fit.
Yeah, so it's time to skedaddle. So
how are the compression shorts? That's a simple one. You're very inexpensive when it comes to certain gifts.
Well, I need that. They're $20 on Nike, but I'm hoping for like 4 or 5 pairs.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Excuse me.
You know what I mean?
4 or 5 pairs.
Yeah, $80 to $100. I don't know.
Stress the hell out.
Definitely into some new UGG slippers. Need those. Figured those were on your list as well.
UGG slippers.
But sure. I got it. The reason why I'm saying this is I got an early gift, and you would be proud because it was a recommendation of Michael Pirelli. Can't say who the plug is because she gifted my wife and I with the Oral-B toothbrush.
Do you love
she
it?
works in a dental office. She was able to get the plug. Gave me like a whole bunch of what are they called? Necks?
With attachments. I don't know what they're actually.
A whole box of those as well. So I've been using it. already cleared up my gum
Do you feel
situation.
Great?
Yes.
You feel absolutely great.
But my arm hurts. Do you hold it down, elbow down, or do you hold elbow up?
Like how do you brush angle you need to get. I mean, you adjust. It's not.
No,
do you have to stay stiff the whole time?
Yeah. Well,
you know what? I keep my elbow up and I just move my head.
But it's so. Does yours change gears automatically when it's time
like
to shift?
3 things.
When it's time to shift.
Yeah,
so,
it's like.
Listen, so I might have the next level one. I might have
definitely
the Bentley Oral B.
Yeah,
I don't know
the
Oral Bentley,
the Boral B.
it's a contraption, man. But so say I start in the top left quadrant. Once I'm there for like 10 or 15 seconds, it goes wah wah, and it's time to switch, and then I switch over to the middle, then I have to switch over to the right. But you got to do this for a long time.
My dentist said that you're supposed to go from the front of the tooth front of the tooth to the back of the tooth like this.
So you do that.
The scoop.
Right, each tooth. But by the time you get here, then it goes wah wah, and then it's time to do this one. So
I thought it just does that to let you know it's still in gear.
No, it does it to switch. That's when you're switching your quadrants.
Oh, one of my favorite things to take the neck off mine when I lose my charge and put it on Dana's and run that battery down. And then you just gotta remember switch it back.
Do you app it to your Bluetooth?
I didn't know that was possible. What do you mean app it?
So mine comes with a Bluetooth app, right? And a phone thing that you put. It's a phone case that you put on the mirror.
I got the ghetto one,
and you hang your phone there, and it shows you the levels. I swear to God, I'm not joking. And then the lights. It's like a light show.
Seems so unnecessary,
dude. It's ridiculous. But no, man, I got a nice plug. She must have listened to the podcast and gifted me with that.
Thank you for spreading the joy.
That's unbelievable.
Burgers and Bentleys. You said Bentley.
Yes.
I had a meeting at Bentley with my guy. Shepa sells Bentleys.
How ridiculous
Jewish guy
are those cars?
Jewish guy.
We
were just talking about See how it all connects?
It all connects. Jewish guy.
And his buddy Alan, also Jewish guy.
Okay.
Nice guy. He looks like, he might listen to this. He kind of looks like Seth Rogen a little bit, like his hair and stuff. But really nice guy. I was in there. Cars are ridiculous.
But what does a discount look like? Like, so if I'm talking a $200,000 vehicle, what kind of discount can you get me, Alan?
Not yet. We can't get it yet. We got to bring him some business. We didn't bring him any business yet.
All right.
So this has been in the works for like 6 months. We lost touch. I got busy. So I finally followed up. I'm going to do a series with them, 6 episodes, Burgers and Bentleys. And
you're going to eat burgers in the Bentley?
Not in. We're going to take a Bentley to get a burger. It's not going to be a Bentley every time. It's Miller Motor Cars. So they got G-Wagons.
Yes.
They got Lambos. So each episode is going to be hopefully one of their cool, used, or new available cars that people can buy.
That sounds fire.
So it's going to be hilarious because I'm like, I'm not driving.
How do you drive that thing?
I'm not.
I'm
sitting in the passenger seat and asking questions.
Can I drive us?
Possibly.
Can you ask?
If we get a G-Wagon, we'll sneak you in. So that is in the works, which is a lot of fun. It's tough because it's a new format. We're trying to tell Mike saying you has such a good following, but people get bored, right? So we're trying to switch up formats. I'm trying to incorporate some fun stuff, a new personality in Nick Shepa, who's a good dude. Seems like we're hitting it off. So it'll be fun. That's in the works. First episode's getting shot in the new year.
Wow.
January 11th on the books. We shot our 2nd episode of the Reno show.
Cool.
So Brooke, who you know well now, right? Yes. She's the best. I incorporated her into the Full House Reno because the bar is taking a little bit of backseat because the bills are rolling in for the main house.
But also the weather, too. I was telling you that.
That's fine because as long as that's kind of work in the background, it's not a huge amount of work.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of doing it and getting it done.
All we need to do is put a bottle of Tito's there. And then you got a bar.
Just open the window.
Yeah, there you go.
So anyway, we bring her into the fold. We had a packed house last Friday, I think it was, to shoot the show after the bar night, which she attended. So everyone was a little tired. We go up into the construction zone, and I think she's going to post about this so she won't kill me for saying it on the podcast. Poor Brooke was talking to Dana about something in the bathroom layout, and there's vents cut out for snaking our HVAC vents.
Okay.
So there's holes cut out in the floor so they could snake them.
Right.
Poor Brooke stepped into one of them, put her foot through the sheetrock of our current bedroom, and hit pretty hard on the ground. It was like a movie. Unfortunately, it sounded like she was fine. I'm sure it really hurt because she went knee deep into the hole.
Oh my God.
Thank God she didn't fall right through. It's not a huge drop, but it could have been really bad.
Falling through the ceiling, it would be
so
terrible.
She was felt so bad that she put a hole in her ceiling. I felt so bad that she almost died. So that's how we kicked off the shoot, right? So she's doing okay. She was going to send me a picture of her leg. Never sent it.
Oof.
But you'll see it when you come Friday. You'll actually see where the hole is. So it's probably like a 3 foot by 3 foot hole, but the vent's there.
Gotcha.
So it's blocked.
Wow.
It's like a sunroof.
So this episode might not be the safest to be shooting with a whole bunch of people.
So we didn't get that on video, and I was joking with her. I'm like, this is great content.
Yes, it is.
It's gonna be a great story for you. You're gonna tell your clients you'll fall through a ceiling for them. But to Brookes' credit, she continued as a professional with a broken leg,
limping around.
She was in the area where the bathroom is, all the subfloors ripped out. So she's going from beam to beam, measuring stuff. Her and Dana are talking about squeezing in a tub, and she did not break stride.
Wow.
Trying to get Dana what she wanted in this bathroom. So it was amazing. I hope it translates into an episode.
Yep,
it
will.
Falling through a floor won't, but the backstory is pretty incredible, and I can't wait till she posts about it. But it was unbelievable.
I think that's her new tagline.
Falling through the floor.
I'll fall through the floor for you.
I'll fall through the floor for you. Yeah. And if you don't follow her, go follow her. Haven by Brooke. Great eye. She does you know how you accessorize your outfits and you add the finishing touches?
Yeah.
Watch here, bracelet here,
yeah.
maybe a cologne. She can not only give you the format, she gives you the finishing touches of the fake plant.
Yep.
And then the cowboy hat that hangs there, but no one uses.
Nobody touches.
But it gives you the vibe.
Yes.
So it's
She's good.
I'm very
good
impressed.
Vision.
Unbelievable.
She's got an event coming up, but I believe we're all
we're all
going.
Right? So that's coming up soon. I think so. It's her house. So she's going to show us her reno.
That's awesome.
Anyway, to your point, lots of shows going on, a lot of good content. Just trying to keep the output high, and actually accelerate the output. Because I'm trying to replace myself in other avenues so that I can then do that.
Gotcha.
Because that's my highest return on my time is getting out there and people in the public and bringing people along the journey. That being said, the reality of doing a reno like this, think about shooting an episode like this, but while you're doing it, your lovely wife and interior designer are spending your money.
Right.
So I'm trying to keep a straight face. So I broke character a couple times in the episode. I'm like, whoa, slow down. Slow down. We're over budget, Great for content, bad for the wallet. So just rolling into a rant. In reality, I'll talk about it a little bit. I'll give myself a break, but I'm going to talk about kind of our financial strategy to make sure that we have cushion for the reno, and why we're thinking about doing it a certain way we are, without giving you the specific figures, just the thought process, because it might be helpful for someone who hasn't even thought about that option.
Yep.
But we're in the thick of it.
I'm sure.
In the thick of it.
Sounds like it.
I don't recommend doing any of this stuff during the holidays.
Well, that's true because it's
while you have a baby.
But I don't know. That's how you roll. You put your back against the wall and you go.
I don't know. We'll see.
We wanted to take a quick second to let you guys know that we partnered with our good friends over at Orgain.com. We're happy to offer our listeners 30% off by entering the code NoSnooze30. Again, that's NoSnooze30 for 30% off your first order. If you're on the market for a new protein powder, nutritional shake, protein bar, or Mike's favorite, collagen peptides, Orgain is your one-stop shop. As all of you know, my Crohn's disease is currently in remission, and the only protein I use is from Orgain. My personal favorites are the chocolate peanut butter and the vanilla bean. With the code, you can try a 2-pound tub for under $20. Talk about not snoozing. Go get yours today. Now, back to the epi.
So we're going to skip over the recommendation this week. We'll just roll right into it. We're talking about healthy boundaries, right? And setting healthy boundaries, I guess, for yourself, something that I've been thinking about on a personal, professional level. As I was going through and kind of drafting my notes, I like to view them as healthy rules because the word boundary it's got like a negative connotation to it. Like this is the wall and, don't cross the boundary.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I feel like it has it's got that negative, I guess, aspect to it. But really, it's if you do it in a healthy way, I think it's very beneficial for you. how do they come about, right? How do you have boundaries? And I think it's a balance between personal experiences and then your family dynamics kind of growing up.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? Like you have your family dynamic in the household growing up paired with now, especially as 30, 40 somethings, your personal experiences. You get to see what you like, you get to see what you don't like. Now you're able to create healthy boundaries. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
Beautiful. Boundaries, I think, improve your self-esteem and confidence because you make yourself the priority.
Okay.
Right? Because without boundaries, you basically are allowing individuals to kind of walk.
So we're talking about rules for yourself.
Healthy rules.
Healthy rules.
I love that.
Is that, but why healthy? Like healthy mentally, everything?
Well, yeah. So boundaries itself, I think, again,
I thought we were saying rules.
Boundaries itself.
Okay.
Right? I think the word boundary, you're right. You move it to more of rules and guidelines. Rules and guidelines for yourself. What you're willing to tolerate and what you're willing to say no to, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So I've been going through some things, I guess, at work, to where I've realized now that boundaries kind of have to be flexible. Because if you set such specific boundaries with yourself, you kind of put yourself in a hole to where, like, if there's a situation, you can't now back out of that situation because you have a specific boundary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you need, there's exceptions to every rule.
Yep. One of my biggest business boundaries is being on time. Right? That's just a rule for me that I believe is the expectation of myself and the expectation of the team to show up and be accountable and responsible on time. But also, like, ran into a situation to where somebody was late the other day, right? And my point about being flexible is if I didn't take the time to speak to that individual, knowing that now they got into a car accident but didn't want to say anything because they were embarrassed of it, right? If my boundary was so specific, now I got to write you up, I got to do all this stuff, and then I'm really an asshole at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right? What would you say your biggest business boundary or healthy rule, I guess, would be for you?
The biggest one that I'm trying to implement, and I think I've done it somewhat successfully, is not taking on night appointments.
Yep.
As much as possible.
That's a very good one.
There's a couple downsides to it, right? Like, I will try to squeeze it in right after. So if it's like a 5 o'clock, I'll do my best to accommodate. Or later, if it's a do or die scenario, like this is the house, we need to go, I need to make it happen. And if that's the case, I try to stick to one night. It doesn't always work that way. But that's like a big one because I want to spend time with Livy. I want to help out. I want to be available. And I'm building this business so that I can be flexible and can be involved. Because if not, I would have just done another profession, and there's a reason for the madness. So that's one. The other's location boundaries. I've had to bend them for certain clients, which is fine.
Flexible. Right.
I've had to, but when a new client comes in, it's a very it's difficult because I think I've referred out more business this year than I've closed, which is a tough pill to swallow when you have bills coming in and you have a big reno coming because you want to just do everything. But the reality is that I'm doing a disservice to them because I'm not able
You're not able to be there.
I have a client who's looking in New Canaan. Originally, we weren't looking in New Canaan. They were requiring a certain amount of time. I had to come to the realization last Friday of like, listen, it's going to be a tough combo, but I've been helping you for 7 years. I thought you were going to be buying in Greenwich. You're not, which is fine. Doesn't matter to me. But I want to connect you with someone who's a specialist in New Canaan so that they can, in turn, represent you correctly and something doesn't happen where you buy in an area that I'm not aware of because I don't live there.
Right.
Which, thankfully, they were respectful about it. I was able to find a good contact, and it seems like it's starting to work.
Nice.
But that getting off my plate, it's all opportunity cost, right? Like, by that getting off my plate, it frees up all this other time to actually do things within my boundaries.
Yes.
So that in the future, I'm dealing with less of that scenario.
Makes
right.
total sense.
It's hard. It's a hard, with anything, it's a hard thing to say. It's like saying no to going to like a party that you want to go to.
Yep. 100%.
Like even with your family, it's like sometimes it just doesn't make sense. It's like the amount, as much as I want to go, we have something the next day. She's going to be exhausted. It's going to just snow. It's so hard to say no. We've said it all year.
Yeah,
but it's so hard.
That's one of the hardest things. A specific work boundary of mine too that I've developed, I guess, this year is once I have 3 to 5 critical tasks with deadlines, I can't take any more on. I need to ask for help. right? What happened?
I might just rip my jacket.
But does that make sense? So
Yes.
and the number 3 to 5 is very specific because.
And what are critical tasks?
So
like
critical
projects?
tasks could be like, well, not only a project. Say I have to draft a budget template that's due by Friday 4 p.m. right? Or say I have to get funding sources for 4 of our programs that's due into the state by Monday 5 p.m. So very specific things like that. I've gotten to a place to where I don't want to say I've excelled, but I've really gotten good at knowing my limits. I can multitask to a certain extent, but I'm not my best when I'm multitasking doing 100 things. 3 to 5 critical things that I can do throughout the day where I can say, okay, I have an hour and a half to work on this one, 2 hours to work on this one, 2 hours to work on this one. If it gets beyond that, I have to ask for help. And that actually just happened to me. Whereas before I used to say, oh man, no, I want to take it all on my shoulders. I want to do everything and anything possible just to make myself kind of look good. Whereas now I need to rely on the team to do that to help me out. So that's been something that's been a tough boundary, but I've been trying to work through that. I think boundaries also allow us to be vulnerable at times because if you set the boundary and then that boundary gets broken, now you're almost forced to explain why you have that boundary, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'll look at my wife for this one. She is, when I think of a boundary, I remember back when I was 19 years old, and I don't want to bash my household growing up, but we were a little loose with the lips, if that makes sense. We would say things that we didn't mean. Words didn't really mean much to us. We would apologize the next day and kind of move on. So when we would get angry, we would talk trash to each other, right? Could be my parents, could be me to my parents, could be my parents to, I guess, one another, my brother, my sister, all that. So when Karina came into the picture, she grew up in an environment where that was not the case. You only say things that you mean. So I remember getting in one of our biggest fights when we first started out, and she literally sat me down and she was like, I'm not going to tolerate this. I'm like, tolerate what? She's like, being disrespected by you for absolutely no reason. You could be mad at something else. Don't take that anger out on me, and definitely don't speak to me with that attitude and that tone. That was the first time, and immediately I wanted to fire back. But I realized, wow, this is actually the woman that I want to be with for the rest of my life. So she was able to break down and be vulnerable as to why, you know what? Yeah, her upbringing was a little bit different, and that's unacceptable. So I knew that that's now a boundary that's going to set the foundation for a successful relationship moving forward.
Gotcha.
It was very specific. I remember, and I literally would say things to people. You know how it is. It could be an old school Italian household. You're just talking, oh, you're stupid. You're this, you're that. Not with my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
and
good.
not that I don't screw it up.
Yeah.
Does that?
Yeah, that's
hit?
good. It's kind of not really similar, but Dana and I were going through our second renovation together as a married couple. And this time around, I've involved her basically in everything because the first time she was like, I want to know what's going on. Mm-hmm. So in my head, I was like, you know what? This is something that I need to step back from and let Dana run the show because at the end of the day, I'm just translating what she wants anyway. I can be a final say on certain things, but at the end of the day, I really don't care if it doesn't screw up the functionality of the house. Like
right. You're not
a certain
type
specific. Of bathtub.
Right.
At the end, it's bad to say, and I get in trouble for this a lot. I get in trouble for not caring enough about things that I don't care about.
But they're not important to you, so that's not necessarily.
There's a way to present it.
Terrible.
I'm very when I decide I don't care about anything, like TV shows, I'll just stop watching it. I can't do that in conversations because it's very rude.
Wentworth plug.
What?
Wentworth. Watch it.
Whatever it is. But this time around, I've made the boundary for myself. Like, Dana, you're going to be talking to Nick, the contractor, directly. CC me on it. I'll contribute to the conversation, but it's your show. You're running it. And she's been great. She's been doing a great job. To your point of figuring out when you need to ask for help and let other people do things has been very difficult for me because in my profession, everything falls on me. Similar, but I wouldn't there's
say
no people that anyone's aware of that are also working with me. Even if I have a team helping with social media and stuff, something F's up, I'm in trouble. Right?
Yep.
When that happens, then your control is tough to let go of at all because you're like, if I'm going to get yelled at, it's going to be my fault.
It's going to be my fault, right?
But there's certain things that is a smaller mistake as far as social media versus actually doing a listing presentation. So I've had a real hard time creating boundaries for my daily activities where I find myself getting caught up in some day-to-day BS that I don't need to do right away. So I have to create a boundary of like, there's a certain time of day I'm working on chasing down leads. This certain time of day I'm moving my deals forward. Versus, oh my God, I'm on Instagram responding to some stupid person that is asking about something that is in Florida. Like, right? Like but I catch myself, and everyone's guilty of going against the boundaries. But then I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is dumb. Then there's a whole limit conversation. You talked about limits. Like, every year I'm pushing past what I thought my limits were as far as volume. So I haven't got my footing of my processes because each year that process doesn't work for the next level.
Yes.
So I'm constantly reworking things. So I have to kind of keep the boundary of like, for example, I'm in the office at least at 9 and I don't leave before 5. Whatever day of the week it is. If I don't have anything going on, I got to fill it with productive stuff, because if I'm going to get to a certain point, you have to treat it as a profession. You can't just treat it as a side job. Mm-hmm. So like the time boundary is a very simple one, but a lot of people don't do.
Yes.
Like I see, I'm probably the most consistent person in the office out of our whole firm. And I would say probably a lot of firms, because people, if they can sleep in till 10, will sleep in at 10. Mm-hmm. Whereas I'm like, I need to get out and go, because by being in the office, you just, it like attracts business. Because if someone calls, you're in front of your computer, you're ready to rock. So that's been like a simple one that I've done from the beginning that has been paid dividends, but isn't really anything major. It's like a simple one. You know?
That's always the best thing is simplicity, right?
Yeah.
Now, how do you, as an individual, I guess, set boundaries? You know me, you spoke about processes. I got one for you.
Yeah.
Because you kind of mentioned it. And the first one, I think, is looking at your basic rights and understanding that it's okay to say no and not feel guilty about it. Right?
That's how you do it, right?
That's
you have
definitely the first one.
If you say no but offer a solution, I feel much more comfortable.
Yep.
You know, like when someone wanted to contact in New Jersey, I don't have anyone in New Jersey, and rather than being like, hey, talk to this person just to try to get the referral fee, I'd rather send them to someone that's good. So I just was like, hey, I don't do it. Like, I'm sorry. I wish I could help you.
Yeah.
Versus, hey, I have a great contact I've worked with in the past. Call this guy. Mm-hmm. It feels a lot less complete when you don't have a solution.
I agree.
Do you agree
100%.
with that?
I think for the person who struggles with, I guess, creating boundaries, because again, even in our friend group, there's individuals that don't have that self-confidence to just set a boundary. But to those individuals specifically, is you have a right to be respected, you know, and you creating a boundary on your relationship or, you know, in a friendship, in business, is really just an idea of self-respect. And I want to make that point because I think it's important. I think a lot of people, you know, miss the fact that you have the right to put your needs before anybody else's. And that's okay to do that. It seems like a selfish thing, but you as an individual, if you're trying to make progress in your life, you have that ability and that right to do it. You know, and this is, I think you and I have a good understanding of that. CV as well. Just in his industry, I see that. But that's specifically to somebody that struggles with their confidence and kind of being assertive, right? I think being assertive is something to where I got in a situation the other day, right? Individual high-level supervisor comes up to me and is like, I'm so frustrated right now with, you know, one of my team members. I'm like, what's going on? We have a commercial freezer in one of the facilities that's, you know, we've put well over $100,000 into this freezer. It's massive. And basically, this individual was on the phone with one of the foremen for that company, for that specific company dealing with that commercial freezer. He had an individual that he had just hired that was specifically trained supposedly in HVAC. So you would think that translates over. They were working on a compressor unit. There was 2 units, one for the refrigerator, one for the freezer. And this individual didn't know which one was which because it wasn't clear. It didn't say like compressor, freezer, compressor, refrigerator. So he's on the phone and he's like, well, let me kind of trace the lines. The new person did not step in, and he comes to me and he said, listen, I'm really frustrated that person didn't have my back and kind of tell me which one was which if he knew. And I said, did you speak to the individual? And he goes, no. And I'm like, well, listen, this is one of the biggest problems, I think, in life and in leadership in general. If you have a little issue like that, why not inquire? Inquire about, hey, why didn't you step in if you happen to know about this? Because the answer, come to find out, really was that he just never dealt with those before. So he didn't want to step in and say something wrong.
Yeah.
It's a little situation, but you just taking an opportunity to be assertive and be clear and concise with your direction, you don't build up a resentment in your marriage, in my marriage, in your marriage, in your relationships. If you're not addressing these little things, they end up festering until you get to a point of no return where you now have a big pow-pow.
Pow-pow.
Yeah. It's not like Bam Bam.
Yeah.
No, I just, I know that's a funny term at the end, but really you get, especially as men, I feel like, we get to a point that it's like, damn, if we just spoke a little bit more assertive on the things that we weren't okay with and we weren't comfortable with, a lot of our frustration wouldn't really exist, because you get a little frustrated, you let it out. You get a little frustrated, you let it out, instead of building up until you can't take anymore, and then everything makes you blow up.
Yeah, a lot of it's communication. I know for me, like work-wise, I guess personal-wise too, but more work-wise, I make the change after I'm like in traffic for 40 minutes when I do something I shouldn't have been doing, right? Like when I drove up to New Canaan and I was like, all right, I'm in Friday traffic. I just took an hour and a half out of my day to do this, and the appointment was terrible. Like, it happens. It's just the reality of the business.
Yep.
But I get to such a point where I'm so beaten down that the only decision is the next correct one.
Yes.
Because sometimes
How do you battle that, though?
What?
How do you battle that where you're making...
I burn myself out.
You did
like,
one
I
thing,
can't do
but
it
then
physically.
You have to make the next right decision. How do you work through that?
It's like, I think of it like dieting, kind of. Like, you have the cake and you get sick. And it happens a bunch of times, and it doesn't stick until you're sick enough where it's like, you have to make the change. You're forced to.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And in my defense, everything in my life, business, whatever, isn't black and white. It's very gray, right? Like, I could be following my rule and say, like, all right, well, I'm just doing Greenwich. Then my client wants to see stuff in, like, New Canaan. And I'm like, I'm not going to say no. Like, I want them to see the options. But then so I followed the rule, but then I can't be like, no, I don't show New Canaan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to somewhat bend, but then once they commit to, I want to be in this area, then I got to pass them off.
Right.
But it's difficult because it's all gray. Because in theory, yeah, I could sell anything. Like, I could sell all the way upstate. I could sell all the way in New York. But you have to be disciplined, and you have to create the boundary of, like, it's not something I do, which is the right way to do it. Like, when you tell people it's not what I do, because I don't believe you can be a expert in all these areas. I think you can be an expert in one area. Then you're being honest, and you're being like, I think it's a rarity in the business of someone who's just very blunt about their expertise and being honest and not bullshitting people and saying, I can sell everywhere. I don't know if you want me to represent you everywhere. Right?
Yep.
Maybe in the past I can make it work because I had the time, but there's a reality of when you're pushing past a limit, you get to such a level of frustration in anything that it rather than keep complaining about it, you got to change something.
Yes.
So I get to that point way quicker now with little things that in the past I could deal with for longer. If that makes sense.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Do you catch yourself? I catch myself all the time where I'm like, what the F am I doing? Like, I told myself I wasn't going to do this thing, whatever it is. Like, sometimes I drink too much on like a Saturday and I got to work the next day. And it's not like I'm hindered performance-wise, but I don't feel 100%.
Or you're foggy. You feel foggy.
Yeah, and I'm like, maybe, yes, I can get ready for my 10 o'clock, but it took me an hour and a half to warm up.
Yep.
Like, and I'm ready, but like, I wasted an hour.
I could have been better.
Yeah.
I could have been better.
It's very frustrating because it's as much as you're trying to do these things, it's very hard to just implement a rule.
Yes, but that's why I think it does, it comes to a flexibility that you have to work through. But for me, when I'm making a mistake, right, if you pair that self-discipline like we always speak about with the consistency, that's where you're going to be obviously at your best. But in between that, there's going to be mistakes that happen.
Yeah.
Developing the ability to coach yourself, like I was saying on a previous episode, but coaching yourself in the moment right after you make a mistake is one of the biggest skills that I found to be really, I guess, effective, even in business, right? Like, I now am able, most of the time, if I have to have a rough conversation with somebody, I'm able, and I make a mistake, and I say something that, is a little maybe out of line. I'm able now to not carry that now to my next meeting, because that individual does not deserve that same energy that I just got from the other one.
Yeah.
The toughest thing in the world to do, but I think as now I'm more aware of it, I see it in so many different aspects of my life. And I think, creating that discipline to being able to just say, all right, I just made that mistake, but now I'm going to regroup, refocus, and I'm going to go now and do this.
Yeah.
I think boundaries itself help and assist with self-discipline.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not a bulletproof formula, because there's going to be times that obviously you don't stick to your boundaries. Yeah. I have, a boundary, I guess, a limit to where I don't miss 2 days in the gym. I just don't do it, because I believe that, you miss one day. All right, no problem. It's good to take a day off. You miss 2 days. Now you're almost stringing together some sort of bad habit. Mm-hmm. Right. Now, if I miss that third day, now it's going to be so much harder for me to get back on track. And I think if people can control that portion, just even in their little fitness journey or whatever it is that you're on with your diet, if you have 2 bad days, never string a third one to it, because now you're on a bad track. Mm-hmm. And then that's what happens. You fall off, and now you're almost uncoachable to get back to yourself.
Yeah. The little one I do too is I don't order food. I don't eat out for lunch or breakfast. Like, I don't get coffee out usually. I occasionally will do it before coming here, but I've cracked down on all those spending habits because, yes, in the grand scheme of things, I'd much rather you have a Starbucks and be happy. Yeah. But for me,
shout out Starbucks.
For me, the happiness doesn't change whether it's a coffee at my house or a coffee out.
Yep.
It's just a matter of being organized enough to make the coffee before I leave, or make a protein shake, which I didn't make a protein shake today because I was scrambling to leave. So the alternative is I'm just not going to eat, or I'll have more coffee. But I can't, because I effed up, I can't then break my rule because I screwed up.
Gotcha.
It sucks, because I'm like, I got to try to sneak home now to make a protein shake. But that's like a little rule that I used to do really well that I fell off on. The exception is if I have a client meeting, I'm able to have lunch with them if they insist on it. If not, just have coffee, because it's like for me, my return on my money for happiness during the workday, it's very low. Mm-hmm. Like I'm during the day, it's like you said, you get in the zone, you just want to get stuff done. Like, I could care less what I consume during the day, barring shooting an episode for the food show.
Yep.
Right? Even then I'm working. Mm-hmm. Versus I'd much rather save that cash to be able to go out with Dana and have a nice dinner, or get takeout with the family on a certain day, or when friends come over, not have to be strict on ordering pizzas. Right.
Yep.
So that's like a small one. The listening to podcasts, I've refined it where now I listen to just real estate stuff during the day versus just business and general stuff. Mm-hmm. So I keep refining them, and I try to make them a little tighter, and I keep trying to add them once I have a bunch in the holster.
Yeah.
But it's tough, because like a week where the baby doesn't sleep, your willpower's low because you don't, you're exhausted. So you're like, I'm just going to have Wendy's like for lunch. I'm going to go sit in the parking lot and scarf down a burger, because at that time it makes you feel better. But at that time, that'd be hilarious. Go through Wendy's. Because you get so short-sighted when you have when you're stressed and you're exhausted, you have a shorter window of like, I just want to make sure that I get through the next hour. And
your tolerance level is
versus terrible. When you're feeling good, you have like a bigger timeline in your head. You know, it's interesting.
No, you make a good point too when you said before about making, I guess your boundaries kind of transition for the next level of your success. Right. And I think it's important. It's important to, and not transition, more evolve.
Yes.
Once you set a boundary for this, relationship in your life, that relationship might not be the relationship down the line. So that same boundary doesn't always have to exist. I think you have to evaluate the people that you're dealing with as well to understand how to create the boundaries, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think other people's characteristics play a big role in creating boundaries when it comes to dealing with others, because you don't have to treat everybody the same.
Yeah. And there's a sacrifice element of rules. It's like you can't have everything. You just can't. You can't do it all. So you got to figure out what you want to do, and then you got to cut the fat from other things that you don't really care enough about.
Yep.
And it's simple stuff. It's like, I don't care enough to be a great cook right now and make a homemade meal every night. I'd much rather just throw in crap in the air fryer and have a decent thing to eat just for time purposes, because the return on the effort, it just doesn't make sense right now. That might change in the future. I might love cooking a home meal when I have more time and things change. But for me, what I'm trying to go out and do, it doesn't make sense anymore.
Well said. I think we'll go off of trimming the fat.
Trimming the fat.
We've been rambling a lot, going on like hour and a half episodes.
Yes.
So we'll trim the fat here. Do you have anything else on boundaries and setting healthy rules for yourself?
Healthy rules, anything else? So this is, I'm not going to go too long on this. So one of the rules I've made for myself and our family is that we're trying to build a portfolio and I'm trying to build wealth, right? So a rule I have is if I can, in the short term, get cash out of things without selling the properties, and immediately, like the present value of the cash is enough to make a significant difference, I want to bet on myself and my family in offense.
How do you do that?
I'm going to explain it. So, like, for example, the first rule of everything is I'd never sell anything, right? That's mine.
Gotcha.
Our assets.
Your own assets.
And I told Dana early on, I'm like, whatever we buy, the game plan's not to sell.
Yep.
Because then there's no question of, hey, we could do this, we could do that. It's not saying we can't. Worst case, I always like to run through worst case scenarios.
Yep.
So Dana and I got overwhelmed by the amount of bills coming in because we're spending, when you start construction, you start writing a lot of checks, right? You don't see a lot of progress, so you get overwhelmed because you're like, we already spent this much, but we still have so much to go, which is fine. Everyone goes through it. So then we back down and we say, all right, well, what's the worst case scenario? Worst case is we sell our investment property, we take that cash, we finish off the project, right? What's best case? Best case is we both have really good years. We're able to front run the cost and be able to pay in 2 months what's left on the bill with all of our funds we have right now.
Yep.
Assuming nothing major happens, no big bills unforeseen, right? So you run through all the scenarios. Then your next conversation is, all right, what's the easiest way that we can alleviate the stress of what we're going through and build in a cushion of cash that won't shoot ourselves in the foot, right? So how do we do that? If we don't want to sell our investment property, what other options are there? You can do a home equity line of credit, which is borrowing against your property in the equity that's built.
How quickly can you do that? Just for the typical listener that's
so it depends, right? It depends on your bank.
Inquiring.
So it's basically like closing a loan. So, I don't know what the running rate is. I've never done a HELOC personally. I know people who've done it and it's taken like a month, I think, to secure.
No, but I'm saying the home equity line of credit, right? How quickly, once you buy the house, can you take out that equity line of credit?
It
depending
depends.
on
it depends
how much you put down,
you build, how many you put down. But the point being is I'm trying to keep the rule of the first phase of gathering the intel and getting options on the board and then communicating the options to Dana so we're on the same page. So that, because in the past I would just do stuff and say this is what we're doing. But I've realized that doesn't alleviate her stress. And by her not being stressed, it in turn makes me less stressful, because no matter how bulletproof you think you are, if someone every day is worried about the bills coming in, then you worry, right?
Correct.
And I'm not pointing fingers at her. I'm just saying in general, if someone's has some type of thought and it projects it to you, you encompass it, right? So get all the ideas on the board. So the ideas are, if you can't sell the house, you could do a home equity line of credit, which is called a HELOC. You can do a secondary home loan, so just borrow against it and have a second mortgage, or you can refinance, right? So the big thing with refinancing is we have a income producing property right now, but we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot and have it not be income producing, right? By refinancing.
Because when you refinance, just explain it, you also have to pay back.
Correct. Well, you pay back your previous loan, and in this scenario, we have an owner-occupant loan, which is a better rate. So if we then refinance, it's technically now an investment property.
Correct.
So the rate goes up. The thing that happened is our rate was locked in a little higher because we did it a while back. We already refinanced, but the rate was higher. So even as an investment property now, the rate will be less, right?
Just curious, what is the going investment rate? And the reason why I'm asking, because I locked in when we bought our property in 2015 or 16, right?
Yeah.
The time was much different. So we had locked in at like I want to say like almost 6.25.
Isn't that crazy?
Right. So then when we just refinance, we're all the way down on an investment property now, because the first year was owner occupant.
Yeah.
Same type of style, but now got that rate all the way down to like 3.75.
Amazing.
And you can go lower than that on a single family home.
Yeah.
But the investment properties are always a little bit higher.
Correct.
But what that did is, once we now took off our PMI, the personalized mortgage insurance, which was about $500-$600 on that property.
It's a lot of money.
It was a lot of money.
And that doesn't go to anything.
But
just the bank takes it.
Exactly. And that was like $500-$600, I believe, a month. That kind of just goes to crap until you can at least have the equity. And usually it gets up to 20%, and then they take that off.
Yeah.
So once that came off within like the first 3 years, then we were able to refi and get that. Just want to explain.
Did you pull cash out?
Yes.
Refi?
Yeah. You pull cash out on the refi.
So when you pull cash out from refinance, which is where I was kind of getting to, that is tax-free money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in theory, if you could pull out, X, it's really X times, X plus another 50%, because it would be as if you made, so if you could pull out 100K, it'd be as if you made 150K, because that's basically taxes, right?
Yep.
So now we're at the stage where I talked to my preferred mortgage broker. We went through all the scenarios, and then I'm like, all right, well, this is probably the most likely scenario, which we're starting the process now. It's not done yet, but the most likely scenario is a scenario where we can pull out a lump sum of cash that is tax-free, that would go towards just cushion, and wouldn't spend it right away, but it'd be towards future investments and just give us more breathing room. So if we can pull that out, our rate would go up, but our property is rented out for another 13 months. So there's at least some security there. We know that so the new rate, we're going to be making like, I don't know, say $500 less a month, maybe a little more, but we're still making a profit, right? So what I did, the way I do the math is I take the money we could pull out, and I say, if this is the cash after everything's said and done, how long would it have taken us to accumulate that with just the rental? And then that number came out to like 6 years. So I'm like, in 6 years, hopefully we have a portfolio. So
correct.
I'd much rather take the cash now if you have somewhere to apply it to.
Mm-hmm.
And then it comes out to, we're still going to be making a profit on the property if this all lines up correctly.
Beautiful
scenario. So it's kind of a no-brainer, right?
Yep.
And as far as, yes, we probably don't need to do that, but if that would alleviate a lot of the pressures that we're feeling as far as, getting down to the bone, because at the end of the day, the game is to not get liquidated.
Mm-hmm.
The name of the game is not to have to sell. The name of the game is to hold on to properties and improve your wealth.
Right. So
for us, it just made sense mentally to do something like this, because then it gives you the breathing room, and then you're not stressed out about everything, and you can keep the momentum rolling. But I'd much rather get something that I would have in 6 years now.
Correct.
So then you could put your equity to work, and our equity in the property is still going to be at 70%, or our equity in the other probably 30%. So it'll be a 70% LTV, which means even if real estate drops by 30%, we still have the cushion.
You're still good.
Yeah.
Explained beautifully. The only thing I would add to that is when you do refinance, it's basically another closing. So there are going to be closing costs involved in that. So for maybe the listener that is like, oh, wow, I have a home, and you know what, I should probably look into refinancing.
Yep.
Just understand that depending on the state that you're in, there's always going to be closing costs, and they could be, thousands of dollars.
It's going to be significant, but at the end of the day, it's just coming out of what we're pulling
big
out.
Number, right.
So we have the goal in mind of what it is. So, and just that thought process of how much money would it take for me to get the same return is how I evaluate where to invest. So originally I was big on like index funds, and I was seeing the dividends it was paying out, and I did some math, and I'm like, okay, well, how much money do I need in here so that I can return the same dividend as I have in my real estate? And it was like, 6 times the amount that I need to put into the real estate. So in my head, I'm like, the path of least resistance to get the return is real estate.
Yep.
So that's why I've leaned more towards that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you should have different avenues.
Yeah.
But that's like something we're doing right now. That's very, it's very math financial, and Dana's eyes glaze over every once in a while. but you have to incorporate your partners in these conversations because you need to alleviate their stress.
Very important.
And they need to learn because maybe the next property she's in charge completely, you know?
Yeah. I think you explained it beautifully. I think that plan sounds...
It sounds good, but the
really
caveat
good,
is it could not appraise out, but I'd rather take the risk for, say, $400 for an appraisal. I'll take the risk.
100%.
Right?
No, good tips, man. You got anything else there? And I love when you bring this financial
talk.
Well,
it's like real life.
No, exactly. And
not
it's really
financial advice.
No, financial piece though, just because there's money involved. And obviously you guys are going through it right now, so I think it's good that you speak on what you're going through.
The only other strategy is then it would bring I'd close out the previous loan, which was with another bank that I want to close a credit card. Gotcha. So then that whole bank will be removed from our portfolio. So it'd just be easier to manage because we have so many things going on.
You just mentioned closing credit card.
Yeah.
I heard, and this is something that I've kind of done throughout the year. One, I don't really have too many credit cards. I probably operate, I don't know, between my wife and I, maybe 2 or 3. Never really close out a credit card. When you close it out, that actual loan versus just leaving that at 0, that can actually impact your credit.
Yeah, so I'd much rather have the simplicity of knowing that's not out there because occasionally
for fraud purposes you're talking
everything. You'll get whacked with
that's a good point.
You get whacked with an annual, which would be like, say it's $95. Then that $95 you forget to pay, it hurts your credit anyway, and then it's $110. Then you forget that you even have that account.
Well, yeah, I mean you got to be organized with it if you're going to do it.
So my thought is like if you can get things off the books, I'd much rather take our credit's pretty strong. I'd much rather take a whack. It's not a serious whack. I'm just giving something that was told to me for whatever reason, and it could be 10 points on the credit. It could be another just a running of your credit on a hard inquiry. I don't know. I think credit cards, if you have too many, I think it gets out of hand because you're like, oh, that's only $100 on this credit card, but if you have 10 of them, that's a significant amount of money.
I agree.
That's just escaping for no reason.
I agree.
So this is funny because I have so much stuff going on in businesses and like investments and all this, but I'm trying to kind of streamline everything.
Yep.
Because I don't have the time to play around with it anymore. I used to be able to bounce money around, be like, oh, I'm getting a return. But at some point, the opportunity cost of doing all that work doesn't make sense.
Yep.
It's like, oh, you're going to make $100, great. But in the time that it took you to do all this crap, you're going to get whacked with fees when you close shit out.
Yep.
So like that Yada Bank thing wasn't bringing any type of return. So I'm like, that was the biggest waste of time.
Really?
It's good to check, but it's fine. But the return at the end of the day was like 0.5%. So it's like, yeah, in theory, you could win a Tesla, but you're never going to win the Tesla. You know? So it's like, I'd rather bank on stuff that's actually going to happen.
Yep.
And not waste time on some stupid.
Yeah.
I did like it, though. It was cool.
No, yeah. And even when you spoke on it, I looked at it, saw it, and I was like, it's not really for me personally. But it's always good to try things, you know?
Yeah, that's been my downfall is I try too much stuff.
That's all right, though. Speaking of trying stuff, we are trying to release yoga pants. So what I did was I sample ordered prior to, obviously, the release because I didn't want to drop them. And then exactly what I believed is the worst case scenario could happen happened.
They haven't been
delivered? They looked, no, they looked great. Karina actually loved them. Right, she loved them, but I also gave a pair to your girl Janine.
Jamim.
2 different body types.
Is she getting a real estate license?
I believe so. I believe she's not snoozing on life, and real estate is something that she's because she works in real estate.
Yeah, she works for a firm.
Firm, right? Yeah. So I think now she's taking the plug and getting the actual license. But so they have 2 completely different body types, right? And Janine was saying this term that I didn't realize. She's like, Dave, you got to make sure they're squat proof. Which happens to be a real term. Yeah. So on my wife's body, she really enjoyed it as an everyday legging. But then when Janine tried it on, she was like, this is not going to work for my body. Like, don't drop this as the actual yoga pant. So then I did some more research through our distributor, and they do have a sport edition of the yoga pant that's compression material, a little bit thicker on the upper thigh to make sure that it's not see-through and it is squat proof. So I'm sampling items, but I do believe that we'll be able to drop, in the new year, and I think it's something for the ladies to look forward to.
I was hoping it was gonna be compression pants for us.
I can do that too.
Let's do that because I would love a pair of compression.
I don't know how I became the designer. You were the Calvin Klein.
That's the other. Yeah, the other thing is like I don't have time. That's the problem.
To be Calvin Klein.
No, we need to build out the team.
Listen, hey, you guys heard it here first. We're looking for a Calvin Klein designer.
A lead of the clothing.
It's all good. This will bring us to my favorite section, Dave's Dime of the Week.
Dimes.
I don't see CV. I don't see my teleprompter here.
Oh, I was like, I don't see CV.
You're like, wow, that's a good one.
Blind?
Wow, that's a good one. Setting boundaries is your responsibility. People will continue to do what you allow. You get to decide what it is and what isn't allowed in your life. So if you're that person that has no boundaries, you will continue to get walked on. Right? And it sounds rough. It sounds a little tough.
You're rough.
But you're rough.
I wonder how many people cry when they hear Dave's Dime of the Week.
No, it's true, man. And if the shoe fits, definitely wear it. But you need to set healthy boundaries for yourself, for your relationships, for your business. It's one of the most critical things, and it's something that I'm trying to get better with every day, every year. And as you continue, like Mike said, as you continue on your journey to whatever it is, they will continuously evolve. And not that the boundary has to be so set in stone. You got to allow some flexibility, just like everything in life. So hopefully you take that to heart. Hopefully it didn't stab you in your heart, though.
Strong words. Your words land like knives. Miguel's mantra.
Get him, Vic. Great show, right? Great documentary that's out right now.
Which one?
With Victor Cruz.
I thought one came out a while ago.
But now I think a new one is coming.
Another one?
Yeah.
I like him. Is he still with Nate? Nasty Nate?
With Nate, Big Nate. It was just his birthday the other day.
Oh, happy birthday, Nate. My mantra is a nice, short and sweet one. I try to keep mine to 3 words.
3 words.
This is from a great man, Jocko, who his whole thing, which you know what I hate? Sorry, I'm going to riff 1 sec.
Go ahead.
I hate when you listen to people and like, yeah, that sounds good and well, but they're right, you know? Like parents, people that are in positions and that are way above you that say something that is like, duh, but it's so true.
Yep.
I hate it.
I thought you were
because I
say...
think there's a magic pill to certain things, you know?
Yeah.
Don't you? Sometimes I kind of wish stuff was more complex. They had to figure it out.
That you had to figure it out more.
Versus
but it's
just
really
stay
just
consistent
so simple.
and lift weights. Like, yeah, eat healthy. I get it.
But is that your quote? Eat healthy.
But it always comes back to something simple, which is very frustrating.
Yeah.
Simp. Jocko Willink,
who makes terrible energy drinks.
Don't get us in trouble. He's going to kill us. Discipline equals freedom. It's something that I think about constantly because the more disciplined I am, the more freedom I have within my business and life.
Listen, man, I think I don't want to sound like
it pisses me off.
I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but to me, I think the most important things in life are discipline and consistency.
I hate you.
But have I not been saying that?
You've been. Everyone's been saying it. You've been saying it. All these people I listen to have been saying it. And I want like some magic bullet or something where it's not easier. But it's something you got to figure out. There's like, you know, what's the mystery of life type of thing. Like when you say mystery of life is being disciplined, it's like, I wish it was more.
I wish it was more. So just to that same point, Steph Curry, I don't know if you saw last night. Of course it was against the Knicks.
Oh, look at
he
throwing threes.
Dropped the all-time 3-point record, beating Ray the Goat Allen, who happens to be my favorite player of all time. Chased him down in the airport just to say hello to Jesus Shuttlesworth. But you know, he did it against the Knicks, obviously.
Everyone does something great against the Knicks.
Reggie Miller, and Ray Allen. So Steph Curry, Ray Allen, Reggie Miller, they're all in attendance together, right?
Sick.
Ray Allen beat Reggie Miller for that record. Now Steph Curry has beaten Ray Allen. He did it in like 789 games versus Ray Allen's 1,300 games.
I don't think
that is ridiculous.
If Curry stays healthy, I don't think anyone's ever going to break his record.
That's his thing now. So he made it. He
so young.
Yeah, he's 33 years old. But he did a
not that young.
He did an interview, and basically, you know, he said, you know, the difference maker for him is that he gets in the gym and he does what he has to do, right? And when they put elite NBA players, 2 guards, specifically shooting guards and point guards, to train with him, when they bring the top-notch college Division I athlete to train with him, they're literally throwing up on the floor because they can't keep up with his conditioning.
Cardio.
And all he does is he does it every single day. And he attributes his jump shot to being able to go through the fundamentals even when he's completely dead and exhausted. And that's the difference maker between him. Is it easy to do? Hell no. But the key for him is obviously the consistency. What? the discipline and consistency.
What does it say? Fatigue makes a coward out of everyone. It's a good quote.
Yeah, that is good.
It's a good quote. You never heard that one?
No.
I think about it all the time because I'm always fatigued. I'm like, I'm fucking coward.
Like, I'm a coward. Let me go.
It's true though, because a lot of 90% of the time people lose their legs when they play basketball, and that's why they miss a step. I mean, it's like with life though.
Yep.
When you lose your legs, it's like, no offense to people with no legs out there that are crushing it, because I've seen a bunch.
That are crushing it because I've seen a bunch.
I have.
Wow.
Wrestlers and stuff. It's wild.
They probably have really big arms.
I got to toughen up. I say it every episode.
I think we all do, man. But that's the journey, and to us, that's what the No Snooze mindset is all about. Daily progress. But as long as you're taking action, that's the key to life. All right. So until next time, we will see you next week. Stop snoozing.
Get up and get after it. I thought we had a week off.
I threw you off.
What? Oh, I always finish your sentences.
That's another Effie in the books. Go follow us on Instagram and Facebook at No Snooze Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, No Snooze.